You probably won't believe this, but what do you think my Model Y residual position is after 7 months of owning this new Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive? 10% maybe? 20%? Well, here's the shocker. My trade-in price from Tesla is now a hefty 35% lower from my purchase price, and the new Tesla Model Y refresh is still to be announced. Plus, with more and more prototype sightings every day just being a gentle nod that we're actually getting closer. I mean, the latest shots are clearly the clearest that we've seen to date. With all of this hype, is this then going to give me serious Tesla Model Y refresh FOMO? Even to some extent that I actually regret purchasing my Tesla Model Y just 7 months ago. As I know some of you must think this of me, and there's nothing really wrong with that intriguing thought at all. In fact, it's a fairly reasonable question to have, as some of you may be at a similar junction of needing to trade in your car imminently, or maybe your lease is coming to an end, and you too are wondering if this Project Juniper Tesla Model Y is worth waiting that little bit extra for. And I can't lie to you, all these extra sightings is getting me a little bit hyped up for the refresh. But for a number of reasons that I will now explain, I do not regret this purchase over waiting for the refresh Tesla Model Y. I do dare someone to ask me that question again following the Tesla announcements in the comment section below in the coming weeks or months, whenever it is. Anyhow, I have 3 to 4 core reasons why going into 2025, I will not regret sticking with my soon-to-be legacy Tesla Model Y. Sounds quite weird saying that. So before I get into that, I appreciate if you could just give the video a cheeky like, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get straight into it. So stripping it back, it's probably wise to understand why we upgraded in the first place, as my made in Berlin Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive was not an impulse decision. My Tesla finance still had another 6 months or so to run at the time, and it would have expired at the end of 2024. So immediately you can see that if I did actually stick it out and waited to the very last day, the refreshed Tesla Model Y wouldn't have even been available. And I knew that was going to be the case, as I've consistently said that I thought it was going to be 2025, late 2025, maybe even pushing into 2026. Therefore, the time has since clearly justified my actions that waiting would not have done me any favours here. However, what did do me some favours was 0.5% APR finance and 15,000 free supercharger miles. Therefore, in addition to the range bump, hatchback boot, and just all the interior fit and finish upgrades that Tesla have made over the years, this point is something that I keep reiterating to you guys, is that when the refresh is announced at some point later this year perhaps, 0% APR is not something that I anticipate Tesla will do for the Tesla Model Y for a long time. And I don't anticipate that price tag will see a big drop either, because Tesla have 2 new affordable models due in the first half of 2025. And with the Model 3 already on market, that pricing strategy has to be just right for all the models and all their trims, or they'll then swallow up demand over each other. Therefore, if you haven't already worked it out, financially, this car was a bigger upgrade than I expected over my 2021 Tesla Model 3, and thanks to the near 0% APR interest, it costs me no more than it did my old car. Now I'll talk a little bit more about the residual position issue in more details and why a lower Tesla Model Y interest rate right now over a lower price tag may well be more beneficial for most people. But just putting those figures to one side, what about the refresh itself, Adam? That's just going to be way better, and this is when the FOMO will kick in, right? And to be honest, yeah, you will be right. I will get a little bit of FOMO at that point. But once the hype of it actually does calm down, this car was an upgrade in itself, pretty much over every era of my Tesla Model 3, and much more so in places. Therefore, looking at an angle of, is my Model Y fit for my needs? It overwhelmingly is. Therefore, any range bump or max charging speed increase will make a near 0% difference to me day to day. To you though, that may well be different, but the long journeys that I complete over the year and the current charging curve does not actually hamper or affect my journeys because I don't really do many. And so it's good enough for me right now. I have no doubt that the refresh will be better here, but not enough to say that it actually warrants an immediate upgrade for me over this 2024 Model Y for sure. Even the Model 3 refresh had the same rear-wheel drive battery as before. Whether that happens here probably won't be the same, but you never know, I guess. The upgrades that would matter to me more would probably be just more passenger space related, the interior upgrades in general, but crucially, I do have the hardware for camera suites and the FSD computer. Therefore, we're actually anticipating that the new Model Y to have this same hardware 4 camera suite if it releases in the first half of 2025. If it actually does release in the second half of 2025, it could well have hardware 5 by then. But even so, Tesla has only started to tap into hardware 4's FSD potentially exclusively just a few months ago. Therefore, hardware 4 has a tremendous amount of life left in it. Elon already thinks this is capable of being FSD unsupervised capable. Therefore, unless the new Model Y has hardware 5 FSD, it will still be the very same as my Tesla Model Y right now. And going back to my previous point, based on Elon's comments, I'm anticipating that I will have access to an FSD unsupervised capable vehicle, just need Tesla to get it over the line and for the UK to actually sort out their regulations. How long will that be? But crucially, access at a much cheaper rate than a refreshed Tesla Model Y potentially. And I appreciate there may well be sacrifices like maybe a rear passenger screen, interior lighting, air-cooled seats, but to me these aren't actually non-negotiable upgrades to have and are much more of a nice to have. But just touching on my residual position and the Model Y refresh pricing in more detail, as I feel it should be something that you need to consider if you're at this awkward junction. I feel that the refreshed Tesla Model Y most definitely would cost me more, and I'm not specifically talking about the ticket price. 90% of UK consumers actually finance their new vehicle purchases, so they have to pay interest with their finance, for which the chances are, if the refreshed Tesla Model Y really does create this positive buzz from all the changes, that will likely mean that demand will then surpass supply, for the initial months at least. That also means Tesla most likely won't be offering the new Teslas at a low to 0% APR any longer. That opportunity will probably have been in past by that point. And based on the rates that the Model 3 refresh had on its release, I'm talking 6 to 9% APR here in the UK, could just well be on the cards. Even if we consider the ticket price, there is no guarantee that a new Tesla Model Y will be cheaper, but even if it is maybe £1,000 or £500 cheaper, just like the Model 3 refresh was, the high interest paid might then outweigh that unless you're a cash buyer, or another way around it could be that you obtain finance outside of Tesla. And you may be saying, yes, Adam, you may have near 0% interest right now, but the residuals aren't going to be the best, are they? Yes, admittedly, 35% after 6 months isn't great, but cars are depreciating assets. The anticipation of the new model could actually well be baked in here, but the residual drop will actually smooth out over the years. I'm sure it will. Even if the residual position in the refresh model does hold up much better, depending on actually how much interest that you do pay over the term through higher rates and financing, it's still ultimately going to hit your back pocket. It's just hitting it in a different way. To me at least, I opted for the low interest route, and you may well have a different take on that. I actually don't think that there is a right answer here. Just what you feel is more comfortable is the right decision for you. So make sure that you do all your research before you make an informed decision. Another curveball to all of this is, if Elon was right and all these Teslas today are just full self-driving robotaxis waiting to be switched on, metaphorically speaking of course, could that then turn the tables on the depreciation asset take? Well, I won't get too far ahead of myself. Time will ultimately tell just how crazy Elon was for predicting that many years ago. So to conclude, do I regret buying the 2024 Tesla Model Y now and not waiting for a refreshed Tesla Model Y? Moving from a 2021 Tesla Model 3 was a big upgrade to what I had. Same monthly repayment, more passenger space, more supportive seats, more boot space, more range, better battery, better road cabin noise, better suspension, premium audio, AMD entertainment computer, heated steering wheel, and hardware 4, meaning it has the latest FSD suite. And in my circumstance, this was a worthy upgrade. Sure, the Model Y refresh is likely to premium up and take everything that one step better still, but frankly, it won't see a massive cost to benefit ratio of upgrading for me right now. So putting that all into perspective, my legacy Model Y was a bigger update than you'll probably realise. Will the refreshed Tesla Model Y be better? Only a fool, I think, would actually think otherwise. But when will it be released, and when will the finance become more affordable? When will it be as competitive as it is today? And I honestly look forward to just seeing how everything is revealed for this new Model Y and what it has to bring. One thing that could well be comforting is if any of the upgrades will be backwards compatible with the Model Y. So I'm talking about maybe a rear passenger screen if that's actually introduced. But ultimately here, I know from my circumstances that the timing could not have been right to actually trade in for the refreshed Tesla Model Y. Maybe you're in a similar position now, and if so, and you're happy buying a current Model Y today like I was, don't forget to use a Tesla referral link like mine in the description of the video. So what did you think to today's video? Do you think I made the right decision? Or do you think that I'll regret it once Juniper Model Y has been announced? And if so, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Do take a look at the links in the video description if you haven't already. You folks have been great, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.